Hey there friends, David Paulides, CanAm Missing Project, a copyrighted edition for our video channel. And this is a missing person segment. And as we get right into the missing people, this book, one of our all-time bestsellers, Missing 411, A Sobering Coincidence. Do not buy any of my books on Amazon. Never buy a book of mine on Amazon, ever, never, never. You will get ripped off. Those are all resellers. My website to find the book, NA like North America, NABigfootSearch.com. This book will blow your mind. And what it deals with is younger men that disappear and are later found in water. Now, unfortunately, fire departments and police departments are writing these cases off as happenstance. That's too bad it happened, but nothing unusual here, except there's a lot of unusual things going on. Now, on the back of this book, I put a little map. You can kind of see it. Not real good, but you can see that all up and down the East Coast, Great Lakes, there's a lot of these cases. There's also some along the West Coast as well. And I mapped these out because I wanted to look at it myself. And again, there's almost none going down the middle of the United States from north to south. There's some going up through the Appalachian Mountains. There's a few in Florida, and there's a few in the southern parts of the Canadian provinces. These cases have intrigued me greatly because once I got into them, I started to find out that the profile points lined up exactly with the land-based missing people. But when a body goes in water, there's a lot of strange things that happen. Your hair does strange things, the skin does strange things, and there's an actual progression based on the temperature of the water, how long a body's in the water, etc. And coroners can look at these and determine how long a body has been in the water. Now, they may not tell the public what they know, but they know. And depending on what part of the United States you're in, some coroners' reports are by law have to be released to the public, and others are never released to the public, which makes it pretty difficult at times to follow the facts and to figure out what did happen because you don't have access to those reports. First case I'm going to tell you about comes right out of that book, Missing 411, A Sobering Coincidence. A very young man, 22 years old, but right in line with all the rest of the cases in that book, name is Joshua Swalls. Joshua went missing November 4th, 2012, 12 years ago. Now, he was raised in Noblesville, Indiana, northeast of Carmel. In 2008, he graduated from Noblesville High School, and he went on to attend some college. During the early hours of November 4th, Joshua went out to see some friends. This is the driver's license photo of Joshua. Now, at the time, he was working for Amco Transmission in Indianapolis. So he had some time off. He goes to see some friends at an apartment complex in Indianapolis. At 12:27 in the morning, he texts his friends and says, "Hey, I'm real close. I'll be there in a few minutes." Okay. Well, at 1 a.m., he arrives at the apartment, and he continues to text a female friend until about 1:07 in the morning. All pretty normal behavior. Well, after he texts his female friend, commiserates with people in the apartment, how you doing, what's going on, he leaves his phone in the apartment and he steps outside. Nobody really thought much about it. He knew everybody there real well. And then from 3 to 3:45, there's a long list of missed calls. Everyone's looking around for him. He's gone. So the apartment complex that he went disappeared from is on this side of 65th Street in Indianapolis. 65th Street, pretty busy street. Well, across the street there's an Arby's, Sam's Place, and a variety of stores and things. But at that time of the morning, there's probably not a lot open. Well, later that day, he's reported as a missing person on November 4th. And there was a large-scale search that started at that apartment complex and migrated across the street towards the Sam's Place and the Arby's. This search included dogs, helicopters, ground pounders, everything we normally talk about. It was there in length. Well, the third day of the search, searchers come across Joshua's shoe near a retention pond near a Kruger store. So here's a retention pond. Decent size of retention pond. These are common in the Midwest. Don't see them in certain parts of the country, but you do there. Now again, this was across a busy street, about 400 feet from the apartment complex he was visiting. They were befuddled. One shoe. They confirmed it was his. They give dogs the scent of the shoe. Dogs don't find the other shoe. They don't find anything. And they keep looking because it was the only thing they had found. Well, Indianapolis Fire Department had a tactical dive team that searches for bodies. That's what they do. And they went into that retention pond and they searched it for hours and hours and hours. They were positive that there was no body in the retention pond. Joshua's parents were befuddled and they were confused. Joshua was an outstanding swimmer, number one. Number two, Joshua's dad said that it was absolutely ridiculous for the dive team to go in that water because there's no way his son would have gone anywhere near that water on a cold November night. So he says, you could just take that out of your mind. Well, a search goes on more, and there's private searches that go on for weeks. And then finally on November 23rd, so let's clarify this. They only found one shoe, nothing else. They found a coat in that lake, but it wasn't Joshua's. They don't understand how it got there. They have no idea. On November 23rd, an employee of one of those nearby stores was walking by the retention pond and sees a body floating. The employee calls Indianapolis Fire and Police, and they recover a body. And the only body that's missing is Joshua's. Joshua's dad said he heard about it and he wanted to see his son's body. He wasn't allowed to, which is very weird to me. I've never heard of this. He was told by the coroner that his son was wearing just a t-shirt, jeans, and underwear. And his dad said there is no way that his son wasn't wearing socks and shoes. And if someone's implying that his son went for a swim and took his socks off, he said that's a lie. There's no way. Parents know their kids. And when a parent says something that adamant, you better be paying attention. Well, the fire department was later interviewed and stated it appeared to them that the body had only been in that pond for a week. Now, why is that important? When bodies are recovered out of water, it's the fire department that recovers them. And remember, it was the dive team that went in looking for him. So Joshua had been missing for 19 days. 2.5 weeks. The fire department said he was only in water for a week. The other weird thing was, the initial reports from the coroner's office is that they said that the body was not Joshua's. What? Made big news in Indianapolis. It wasn't Joshua. Who was it? And then, a short time after that, the coroner came back and said, no, it is Joshua. So first of all, I've never heard of a coroner's office making a mistake like this. And why is that? Because Joshua had distinctive tattoos on his body. Very easy to identify. Height, weight, clothing, etc. They could easily make an ID on this. Father said Joshua was a very good swimmer. His son would not have drowned. There's no way. The coroner stated there was no alcohol and no drugs in the body. Mr. Swalls said that he asked the coroner personally, was there water in the lungs or in the stomach? And he stated that the coroner refused to answer. But the coroner later came out and said that it was a freshwater drowning. Accidental. Now, if this was only one case or two cases and across the whole U.S. in the last 10 years, I get that. An accident. Maybe he was screwing around, fell in the water. Maybe. But he wasn't drunk. He wasn't under the influence. So why didn't he just swim to shore? Giddy up. The specific part about no drugs, I can guarantee for a fact they didn't check for GHB. We've talked about this before. GHB is something that was found in a secondary autopsy on a few bodies, just like Joshua's. They were found under very similar conditions. But the coroners are not checking for GHB in the system. The one shoe that was found. The police department and the fire department made a huge search of the basin around the retention pond. They never found anything else. If, as the fire department said, that he was only in that water for 7 days, where was he the remainder of the time? Good question, right? The better question to me is, okay, let's say there's 1,000 to 1 shot that he fell in the water that night. Let's say he did. And 1,000 to 1 shot he didn't swim out and he drowned. What was in his stomach? That's right. We can go back, talk to his friends and family and say, hey, what did he have for dinner that night? Because that's still going to be there if he died then. But if he didn't die then, what would have been in his stomach? Because he would have had to have eaten some for the last 10 days before he went in the water. Now, some of you may say, well, Dave, the divers just missed him. Possible. Not probable, but possible. But that statement, his body was only in the water for 7 days. You can't get around that one because those people are experts. The other thing the coroner didn't say is how long the body was in the water. Remember that statement I told you, if you're a long-time listener, a long time ago, I said, local reports for local consumption. This is a very strange case. Very strange. Other parts of the U.S. have had these strange cases as well. I've told you about them recently. The strangest part about this case to me is that there was no blood, there was no alcohol or drugs in his system. But let's pretend for a fact he was held somewhere for held somewhere for days and days and days. A number of days enough to sober up, right? Okay, so that's Joshua Swalls. Find that story in Missing 411, A Sobering Coincidence. But Dave, has this happened lately? Oh, giddy up. One thing that I get quizzed about every once in a while, well, Dave, you never talk about people of color that go missing. Hold your taters. I heard about this case not that long ago, and I thought, holy moly's, I've got to talk about it. I've got to. It talks about a man, 29 years old, still in his 20s, named Kareem Shabazz. Missing November 15th this year, just days ago, at 2 p.m. from Zebulon, North Carolina. He was a resident of Raleigh. Now, Kareem was in really good shape. He owned a company called Ride Clean Feel Good Car Detailing. It was a company he formed in July of this year as a corporation. He enjoyed detailing cars, did a good job, had a good business. Well, he got a contract for a car dealing job in Zebulon. And Zebulon is kind of southeast of Raleigh, not that far, almost like a suburb. And it was at a place called the Weaver's Pond Townhomes. Now, this is Kareem, kind of dressed up here. This is actually the day he disappeared, taken on a camera inside the townhouse area. Dressed nice, clean, taking a stroll. Well, Kareem worked on the car, got it all nice and cleaned up, and then he told some people in the community that he was going to leave his car and he was going to take a walk over to Walmart. I'm going to say this is weird. I'll tell you why. 2 p.m., people see him leaving the townhouse area, walking in the direction of Walmart. Here's why I think it's weird. Here's the townhouse community right here. Here's Zebulon. Townhouse community is right there. Well, it's 3.5 miles to Walmart. Walmart, townhome. Townhome, Walmart. Weaver Pond Townhomes. So my question is, why wouldn't he just get in his car and drive the 3.5 miles? Right? But they said he walked off in that direction. That kind of threw me for a loop. But I kept doing my research. He is seen walking away. That's the last time he's seen. Now, these townhomes are up near like a thickly foliaged area, has a couple of retention ponds. And in fact, right next to the car that he was working on was a retention pond. Well, when he's not seen, he's reported as a missing person, and the police respond. They find his vehicle, along with all of his equipment, and his wallet in the car. So let's stop there for a second. Why would Kareem go to Walmart without his wallet? Doesn't make any sense. But they had multiple people in the complex, unrelated to one another, seeing him walking in that direction, away from his car, away from the pond. Well, when he's reported missing, they try to reach him on his phone. They can't reach him. And in fact, after Tuesday, the phone doesn't even click in. It just goes straight to voicemail. So the Zebulon police decide on Wednesday that they're going to go and do a full-scale search to try to understand what happened to Kareem. So the townhouse community and the surrounding woods, about 120 acres. This is a little closer look. So Zebulon's down in here. This is the townhouse. This place called Terran Woods. What do you notice around here? Lots of bodies of water. Many. Right in this area too, there's many little retention ponds. Now the pond that was next to Kareem's job, I would say it wasn't much bigger than a normal swimming pool. Maybe a little bigger than a normal swimming pool, but not much. Well, the police start searching and they decide, we better search these retention ponds. So they bring in a dive team and they start searching the ponds. And they start looking. Then they bring ground pounders in to search the woods. Then they start knocking on the doors to see what people saw. Was there a fight? Was there a scuffle between Kareem and somebody else? No, nobody saw anything. And in fact, the people of this community got really involved, and they were concerned. Well, it goes on for a 3-day search. Towards the end of the search, Kareem's family shows up, and they start knocking on doors too, because they loved Kareem. They want to know if anybody saw anything, because it was totally unlike him to just disappear. That's not Kareem. He was a man of business, took care of himself, took care of his family. Well, during the search, Zebulon police also bring in Nightdale police, Wendell police, Wilson County sheriffs, canine teams, and they've searched these 120 acres over 3 days, multiple times. Dive teams went into the ponds multiple times. They found nothing. They found no skid marks going into the ponds, no tracks going into the ponds. They found nobody with a scuffle. They weren't getting a hit on the phone, other than it was in that area of the townhomes, which made complete sense because he was working there. So remember, he disappears on November 15th. November 16th, 17th, and 18th, the search goes on in a big way. And then his relatives start showing up, and they keep the search going for another day and a half. Not sure what to think of it at this point, till I read on November 21st, a resident in the townhomes calls the police and says that there's an unresponsive body in the pond next to where Kareem was working. Police, fire respond. They pull the body out. It's Kareem. He's deceased. Clothing matched. They didn't say for sure if it was Kareem at the time because there was no ID on the body. I get that. So it was a couple days later that the coroner comes back and confirms, yes, it's Kareem. They also stated that there were no injuries to the body and they did not list a cause of death. That's bothersome. You see, drowning isn't a real tough thing to determine. They said that there were no injuries to the body, so he didn't get shot. He didn't have any broken bones. They didn't say what he was wearing or not wearing, other than he was wearing clothes that matched. Okay. Now, in one of the articles about Kareem, there was a highlighted article saying about him when he was in the news earlier. I thought, oh, that's really odd, because you never really see that. So it talks about his prior history. 2 years prior, in 2022, Kareem used to be a detention deputy for the Wake County Sheriff's Office. He was classified as a master deputy. That's somebody that's been around a while, not quite a sergeant, but probably a lead deputy on a floor. Well, it was alleged that he had an argument with an inmate. He put the inmate in a cell. He went and got another inmate who agreed to go beat the crap out of the guy that was giving him trouble. So Kareem gets the other inmate, puts him in the cell, and that other inmate beats the crap out of the guy that he was arguing with. Through roundabout ways, the sheriff's office figured out what happened, and Kareem was charged with a series of very serious charges, and he left the sheriff's office. There was never anything I could find about the adjudication of the charges, but this was a photo of Kareem at the time he was booked. What does that tell me? I think this is important. When you're a deputy in a jail, you get in more scuffles in that jail than you ever do in the street as a policeman. Why? Because you're dealing with the worst of the worst every day and every minute. It's no fun in there. I told myself when I was young, I will never go to a sheriff's office if I have to work in the jail before I become a deputy on the street. Forget it. Because it's horrible. It's like being in jail yourself. I mean, I admire these detention deputies a lot. I'm not demeaning them one bit. Thank God somebody wants to do that job. It just wasn't something I could do. So Kareem might have had some enemies out there. But the thing that threw me is they said that there was no injuries to the body. Okay. Now the people in this townhouse were shook up when they found this body there. Because I don't think anybody really believed that that body had been there the whole time. It was an area previously searched. So far, there's an unknown cause of death that they're not releasing. The whole thing reeks to me as a missing 411 sobering coincidence case. Kareem was walking the opposite way going towards Walmart, away from the retention pond, and then he's found in the retention pond. Very bizarre, folks. Very bizarre. But it matches that profile of all of these cases. Now, I'm sure in a little city like Zebulon, they don't realize how many of these cases truly exist across the nation. It's just not the nation either. It's across the world. And granted, I'm not an idiot. I understand that there are accidents that happen. But when you start to have fire departments say, oh, that body's only been in the pond for so many days, but it's been missing for double or triple that time, or they have a tactical team that clears the pond, and then it magically shows up. I don't think so. No. It's just like the missing 411 cases where a search area is covered 5-10 times, and then all of a sudden the body all of a sudden appears right where you were searching the whole time. Searchers are not that bad. I'm sorry. And dogs are not that bad. Dogs should have keyed and walked right up to the area where either Kareem or Joshua disappeared. But they didn't. Thank you for being here. I've heard that many of you can't even give me a thumbs up on my videos because the thumbs up indicator is gone. I've heard that many times. I've heard that many of you aren't getting notifications. Many of you are getting forcibly unsubscribed. They're trying their damnedest to get rid of this channel, and you are being there. Thank you so much for hanging in there. Every other day, I will guaranteed put up a new video. So please keep coming by. And some of you have sent me some of the nicest things that are on the comments section here about doing something nice for people. That's really what life's about. The things we remember is when somebody does really something nice for us. It shows appreciation for us. These are all good things. So it's a kindness revolution. Thank you for being here. Paulides out.